The purpose of the Global CFO Council is to provide an educational and networking forum for senior financial executives in order to share best practices, discuss current financial issues, and to learn about current topics related to the performance of their jobs.
Good afternoon for me, morning for Carol on the West Coast. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'm in San Francisco.
We are on far other sides of this great United States of America. I'm on the East Coast, you're on the West Coast. My pleasure to get to talk to you. Carol Hunter is the CFO at Larkin Street Youth Services. Looks like it's the largest nonprofit in San Francisco supporting youth like y'all do, trying to, those that are maybe in a challenging situation from crisis to self-sustainability, it looks like.
Yes, that's correct.
And I think you got your undergraduate business management from York University in Toronto, Canada.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
CPA, and you look like you're a super volunteer in a bunch of different organizations. And I noticed something, Carol. I have the same lament every financial person I know. It looks like you've been tagged as the treasurer. Just as the rest of it, it's everywhere. Like you're at the Homeowners Association, it looks like mission graduates, you're like a super volunteer. And do you get forced into being the treasurer just like I do and the rest of us finance people?
I do. I do. I've never got the opportunity to really do anything else, unfortunately.
I actually told one organization that called me and said they wanted me on the board. I said, I will only do it if you put me on the marketing committee. And they did. But then like 2 years later, bait and switch. And now I'm on the treasury committee. And I'm just like, oh, trick.
Yeah, that seems to be the way it works.
Carol, let's get into this. Question number 1. What is your favorite business book and why?
Okay. I think I would have to say Thanks for Being Late by Thomas L. Friedman. And what I got from that book is just how fast the world is changing, particularly when it comes to technology. I'm fortunate to have a very strong IT department that's striving to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to new technology. I've learned that you can't just keep up with what's current, but you kind of have to look ahead and see what's coming. You know, the changing technology affects every aspect of the organization. For example, when I'm creating my budget, I have to rely on my IT director to let me know that technology is changing. So, for example, when I'm putting together a budget for new cameras for all of the sites across the agency, I have to know that I've got to put something in the budget because a year down the line, the technology is changing and everything will become obsolete. I know people in general don't like change, but we live in a world where the only constant is change, and the sooner people embrace that, the happier they'll be.
What an important skill right now, more than ever. So what a great book. I don't think I've ever read Thanks for Being Late. I am absolutely going to put that on the reading list. Great job. Starting strong here with question number 1. Let's move on. Question number 2. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
I would have to say the best advice that I have ever received was that your relationships with other people are what matters most. As a CFO, developing great technical skills is not the best way to spend your time, but developing relationships with the people you work with, whether that's the people that report to you, or board members or partners like the bank, that's what will make you most successful. If you have good relationships with your staff, you tend to get the best out of them. There is always going to be a time where you need someone to go the extra mile for you, and those are the times you have to rely on the strength of your relationship. People tend to do things for people they like.
Ooh, amen. Oh, that's strong. Carol, you are bringing it today. I'm looking forward to question number 3, especially with your background here. You started off with a technology-based book and the emphasis around IT. Maybe you've got an amazing tool that you've recently started using or a habit that you've recently picked up that you have found beneficial.
Sure. Yeah, you were right. Technology again. So one of the tools that we started using as the pandemic happened was Concur for our accounts payable function. Before the shutdown, our process for requesting checks or payments of bills was all paper. So basically, somebody needed a check, they would put together a paper check requisition, put it in their manager's box, get it signed, then someone would have to walk it over to accounts payable. But we have a ton of locations, and with people working remotely, you can imagine how difficult that could be. So I was planning to change this process anyways, but the pandemic sort of forced my hand in this process. So now with Concur, all you do is route your invoice to Concur. The Concur back office then enters the information. It gets routed to the proper approver, goes through the whole system. A check is cut or an ACH is done, and the vendor gets paid. So no more check signing for me, which is great. And then everything is kind of stored in one place. So when if someone needs to look up an invoice, they can sit in their home and look up any invoice that they need to see. And when it comes time for auditing, our audit has gone so easy this last time around because there's no boxes to go through or things getting lost. I think that's my big new tool that I love.
Carol, speaking about that current job, what's the best part of your current job?
Sure. So though I'm in the nonprofit sector, my job consists of all the things that you would expect of a CFO, like managing finances of the organization, budgeting, etc. I've spent most of my career working in for-profit companies, but with my move to nonprofit, I have found like the most satisfaction in the mission, connecting with the mission of the organization. At Larkin Street, the biggest satisfaction I have is seeing the success of our clients. As most people are aware, homelessness is a huge problem in San Francisco. And our organization's mission is to eliminate homelessness in youth in San Francisco and beyond. It really warms my heart when one of our former clients shares a story about being homeless and all of the challenges they've faced and how our organization was able to help them move past homelessness and into stable housing and maintaining and finding employment and exiting our programs for good. So I guess our goal is to go out of business, meaning no more homeless youth on the streets of San Francisco.
Carol, I hate to almost ask this question because it implies that a very complex and multi-layered question can have a simple answer, but I'm going to ask it nonetheless. Homelessness in youth is a growing issue and a growing issue in many cities around the country. It's certainly not just an area in issue in San Francisco. Is there any particular thing that you found that can be most successful? Is there anything about what y'all do at Larkin Street Youth Services that seems to have the biggest positive impact in sort of putting yourself out of business and helping those at-risk youth?
Sure. I think it's mostly engaging with the clients. So we don't just find them a place to stay. They're assigned a counselor. We try to get them into our drop-in centers where they can learn about technology, learn about job skills. If they're interested in music, they can, engage and play, learn an instrument, like for example. So I think that the more that you engage with the clients, the better chance you have of having a positive outcome. And we have a huge data department that kind of goes through and proves all of this like that. And there's a high correlation with high touches with the clients and their successful exit from our program.
Carol, when you are not doing an awesome job at Larkin Street Youth Services or being a super volunteer as a treasurer in a bunch of different organizations, what about something personal that you wouldn't mind sharing about yourself with the rest of the CFO Council members?
Sure. So the job that I do is a very high stress job, as you know. And my favorite way to unwind is to do something really physically demanding, like running or hiking. For me, the longer and the more difficult the hike, the better. I love going up the mountains. because you end up being so focused on the pain that you're having right now, you forget everything else for a while. um, it's one of the reasons that I love living in the Bay Area so much, because there's no end to the amount of cool places that you can hike. Weather's great most of the time, so I'm outdoors most of the time, whenever I'm not working.
What's the longest distance that you've ever run or hiked?
Okay, 500 miles. Seriously, this is a
Whoa.
I didn't do it all in one day. So that's over. It's a hike in northern Spain that you do over the period of about 5 weeks. So I would say that's my longest.
The Way? Is it the path?
The Way,
The Way?
yes. The movie was The Way. There was a
And
movie about it.
what is it in
Camino.
El Camino? That's right.
El Camino de Santiago.
Wow, that is so awesome. Folks, that is a trip of a lifetime. I have not been on. My sister has hiked a portion, an abbreviated piece of El Camino, and just life-altering. So I can't imagine what 500 miles was like, and that is so impressive, amazing, probably emotional, spiritual, amazing trip. Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I am glad I asked. I was not expecting that answer. Very impressed.
You can't think of anything else but basically the pain of carrying all of your stuff on your back and looking for food and looking for a place to stay.
Question number 6, last question. It happened so fast. Carol, what's something that I should have asked you, but I didn't? And then what is your answer to that?
Sure. I think how to move to the next level in your career. So one of the things I would say is definitely you need to broaden your horizons. You have to do things that are outside of your comfort zone. Push yourself to do something that you don't usually do. Midway through my career, I was focused on doing a great job of being an accountant, but I soon realized that in order to grow, I would have to broaden my skills and my experiences. I did things like I got involved in Toastmasters to improve speaking, because I realized that, to get anywhere, you're going to have to do presentations and meetings. It's not just sitting and crunching numbers. I started volunteering with organizations to gain experiences, not the ones that are on my LinkedIn, but some other ones, so that I could get to work with people and things like that, and meet different types of people. And I kind of realized that, had I kept just doing a great job at the job that I had at the time, I would not have progressed as far as I did.
So true. What a great message to leave on. And I've noticed a pattern here. Amazing. Carol, you're a change agent, technologist. Sounds fancy, and certainly mission driven, and so impressed with the hike. So you are out there. You are full force to be reckoned with. It's amazing. And I really appreciate that I got to speak with you. And thank you for taking the time and sharing a little bit about yourself and the lessons that you've learned with the rest of the CFO Council members.
All right. Well, thank you very much for reaching out to me. This was fun.
Have a great day.
All right. You too. Thank you.